Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Widgets and Wonders. This is my monthly show, mostly about independent gaming products, great products from small companies, and stuff that people have made themselves in the world of miniature wargaming. So it can be about anything. If you watched episode 1, you know that it was probably an idea that I had for people that watch stuff about the wargaming world online, where they could go to all those cool conventions and see all those small products that you can usually only see locally. And that my offer is out there for anybody who wants to try and bring a product to market, to have them either have me do it or come in and, like my friend Miles here, show off a product they made. So what are we doing this month? This month we're going to be talking about a game called Roadkill. People have asked me in the past about how do you get into the wargaming industry? Well, there isn't really a corporate path to success in the wargaming industry. What happens is you make something, you think it's cool and you hope it's cool, and then you got to muster up the courage to actually show it to people, have them try it out, and then maybe they'll buy it. That's really 99% of how you get into the wargaming industry. You create something, you bring it to market, you hang your shingle, and you basically try and be part of the wargaming industry. So Miles has done this. He has created a really cool car fighting game called Roadkill. He's designed miniatures himself. He did some prototypes. He made some then more further prototypes, and he's actually going into production. He'll be doing a Kickstarter this month that's going to be showing you guys pretty much the gamut of what you would need to get into Roadkill, and seeing if you can get backing to try and bring it to market. So without further ado, Miles, why don't you tell us what you got and what you're doing and who you are?
Okay, cool. Well, I've been game designer for a long time. Video games, actually, mostly. The big one that I started as a designer was a franchise that Sega released called Full Auto. So that was car combat, and from the 80s, car combat's been something I've been interested in. The Mad Max films, Death Race, that kind of stuff, always been fun. So I made a video game franchise called Full Auto that was car combat. Then I went on, did some Sonic the Hedgehog, did some Mass Effect with BioWare, done a few things, a few projects, but miniature gaming's always been sort of the core of my interests, and God knows we played enough games.
We sure did. Yep.
So yeah, it never was something I could step away from entirely, and it was also something, a miniature game I can make myself. Video game is not something I can make myself. I need coders, I need artists, I need a ton of stuff. But I can write a video or a miniature game by myself. Yeah. So and that's what I did. I just as far back as the 80s with the Mad Max films, there was some car combat games back in the day that I used to play, but there's been no sort of evolution of those games in recent years, and I got tired of waiting, so I said, that's it, I'm going to make one of my own.
Do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what I did. It's car combat evolved. It's planned as sort of stages. Start simple. Start with a quick core game. You can play 2 to 6 players in about an hour or less. Actually, 30 minutes when you know what you're doing is pretty reasonable for the scenarios we run. So yeah, we run that, and then we've got plans for new models after that. Part of the appeal is quick to make cars, so you can really customize your own vehicle and build something that has got your spin on it. And the models reflect your choices, so it's a very much a what you see is what you get kind of game. And so we're making these modular pieces that fit together, almost like it's like Lego cars.
Tinkering.
Yeah, tinkering.
Every wargamer loves to tinker.
Yeah, and it's like even after you've glued the cars together, you've got the tops, the chassis, and the bottoms, and the bodies. And they've all got their own sort of game effects that you stack together, and they've got different hard points where the guns can actually fit onto the car. So you make your choices there, but even once you've glued the thing together and painted it, every weapon has a selection of upgrade choices. So if you want to change your machine guns from having incendiary rounds, you can go to corrosive rounds or something like that. So even between games, you can tinker some more with your car and have fun with it until you find just that right blend of destruction for you. And the game itself, it's about anticipation. It's not. I play X-Wing a little bit, and I was introduced to X-Wing this year, and I noticed that there are also there's an anticipation element where you have to at least commit to your maneuver before you do anything else at the start of the turn. For me, everything must commit. You have to commit to all of it.
Cool.
So you figure out where you want to go, what speed you want to go, who you're going to try to shoot at or not shoot at. and what your gimmick is. The cars all have holdouts, a collection of holdouts. So those are your special abilities, and you have to pick which special ability is actually going to be useful to me this turn.
Is it smoke, or is it machine guns?
Yeah.
Or is it targeting computer?
Targeting computer, shields.
Yeah.
Is your auxiliary brake, so I can do a donut? You know, like what's going to be useful to me this turn? And that's what. And so the fun thing that as we've demoed the game is that sometimes your choices work out awesome and you look like you're a god, and other times it blows up in your face.
And it just goes terribly.
It just goes awry. But
Awesome.
either way, it's always been fun. So, yeah,
Cool.
That's the game.
Well, let's take a look at some models and some components and stuff, and then, yeah, we'll see what you actually have built. All right, so here we have some bits and pieces. Now, what's interesting about these piles is they kind of go through the generations of development that Miles did. So this one right here, these are all converted out of existing, like micro machines and bits and pieces?
Yeah,
Talk to me about these.
microchargers and micro machines. So this is a micro machine right there.
Yep.
These two guys are a little known product line. They're little battery operated cars. You stick a charger into the back end of them and then they take off on you.
Oh, cool.
But they're the perfect size, so I used a couple microchargers.
So for your original sort of like prototypes and doing your playtesting and stuff, you made these.
Yeah.
And then these are actually 3D prints, aren't they? You
Yeah.
designed these, you sculpted them, and then had them 3D printed?
We had a 3D modeler who does toys in Brazil. He did some prototype models for us, and they're like you said, they're unibody, so they're one piece. And then I added gubbins onto
Guns
them.
and bits and pieces
Yeah.
too. So these are the 3 different classes. Why don't you walk us through this? There's two, like light, medium, and heavy.
Well, actually, so yeah, these are
sorry.
two Spartans. But if
Yeah.
you look here, that's a Viking. So they're the fast, nimble recon type cars.
Yep.
These are the Spartans, which are kind of the jack of all trade cars. And that's the Centurion. So that's your heavy support.
Your heavy support, right?
Yeah. And then this guy here, that's the Goliath. So he's obviously a badass.
And he's like an objective and stuff in the game.
That's right. In this first edition, he's objective. If we get to later editions, then they're player vehicles too.
Awesome. So now the map that we're on here is a GameMat.eu map. This has nothing to do with the actual game. I'm just displaying the models on them. But there is some scenery and stuff that you've made. You've got this sort of roadwork stuff that you did as your sort of prototype.
Yeah, so we've got road tiles because the first edition features highway missions. You can play the game anywhere you want on an open table if you want, but we've got highway scenarios.
So tell me about the setting. Why is it on a highway?
So we've got this in the setting. It's a colony world, a couple hundred years in the future. It got blasted to hell in the middle of a civil war. 13 cities survived. They're kind of fortress cities, almost like Mega City 1 now from Judge Dredd, but
Right.
a lot smaller.
Okay.
And they built this steel back that links the cities because they do a lot of commerce between each other.
Right. So these are basically the lifeblood of these big cities.
Exactly.
The roads that connect them.
So, and the Goliaths are the ones that run the goods.
The supplies and stuff in
Right.
between.
So, unfortunately, in this setting, there was a lot of settlers that didn't live in the cities who had the sort of the rural communities going. They got blasted to hell in the Civil War, and what's left of them have basically become like the Fremen from Dune.
And so now they're chasing these things down.
That's right.
to
And
try
instead
and
of
get their
sandworms,
stuff.
they've got cars. So they come after the trucks. They're basically pirates. They're clans of pirates. And just like in Mad Max, you're going to have the Buzzard clan, the Immortan Joe's clan, the War Boys, and
The Doof Warriors.
yeah, all these guys, they're all going to come into play. So
Cool.
they've all got their own flavor. Like the red guys there, they're the Scions, Scions of Man. They're all heavy duty cyborgs. They've all augmented themselves. So
Right.
their vehicles reflect that extra toughness, and they'll have sort of extensor limbs coming off them when
Right.
stuff like that. Meanwhile, these guys here, they're the Judge Dredd clan. They're basically the cops,
The peacekeepers.
that help patrol to make sure the Goliaths aren't getting picked apart.
Cool.
So-
All right. So that gives us an idea really of the bits that you did as your prototypes. Now what's this
Yeah.
stuff over here?
So now now you're looking at the bare metal stuff, and this is some of our first castings coming back from our manufacturer, John Locke. Whereas we might have started with a
Homemade scrap pile?
Yeah, that one might have been our old scrap pile. So this is our new one now. We've got pedestrian models too, so you can actually run people over. Actually have mobs of them running around shooting at the cars. These are the automated turrets that will pop up in the middle of the highway, depending on what you roll for spawning a new tile. Wreck markers for cars that got busted. And the cars themselves are, now we have the two-piece modular construction. So you have unique choices for the chassis and unique choices for the bodies. You can match them up as you like, and every time we have a new addition, we can add new chassis and bodies so that the matrix of possibility expands.
And you could even magnetize these if you wanted, so you could have
hell
chassis
yeah.
fall off
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and you could mix and match them up in games.
Absolutely.
And so there's hard points on each of these, and that's kind of how you build your cars.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. So, for example, this guy here, that's you can put a turret up on there if you want, or you could get a mine layer or
Rocket launcher or whatever.
Yeah, whatever weapons you want. So, different hard points will allow different weapons to go in, and that's where where you start tinkering with your car.
Right. So if you have X number of points to build your fleet of cars, hard points are kind of the thing that you're buying when you build the basic chassis.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
All right, so now these are obviously all pre-production. When you run your campaign, there'll be more details on that. So contents may vary, obviously, when you get to the final product. But these are some great looking sort of like pre-products.
Yeah.
Like these are your highway dividers too, aren't they?
That's right.
So those go in between?
Yeah, so sometimes you got to watch out. A new tile will come up and it's got a divider on it, and you don't want to be in the center lane for that.
No, because you're not shooting anybody if you're stuck on one side. You don't want to hit it either. Exactly. And then last but not least is these are the game aids.
Yeah, so two of our core gimmicks are the command box. This, as I say, this game is about anticipation. It's about looking at where the cars are, what their statuses are, and trying to figure out what you're going to do with your turn. And everybody's doing that simultaneously. And just like Scrabble, you've got your dice inside here. Well, Scrabble doesn't have dice, but you put your choices in there. So you've got your speed.
Hiding your pieces. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, I'll show you this one too. It's got the colored dice. But you've got speed, you've got maneuver, and target, and your holdout. Okay. And basically, every one of those, the 6 faces of the dice represents a choice you can make for that.
Right.
Speed, for example, is going from 1 to 6 inches a turn. The maneuvers, each number corresponds to a different maneuver you can make. And everybody in the game has a number assigned to them, so if you're going to target, if you're player number 2, that would actually mean you're not targeting anybody that turn.
Right.
But if you weren't player number 2, then that would be saying that's who you're going after.
That's how I'm going after, that's what I'm shooting.
Yeah.
And the last one is the number for your holdouts, so whatever kind of special equipment you have.
Holdouts are your special abilities, and those are all, again, something that you customize for your car. So, for example, adding auxiliary brakes that let you make an extra turn at the end of the move. Or if you have nitro, that might be something you select as a holdout and say, I'm using nitro this turn, I get an extra inch at the end of my turn.
Cool.
Or your targeting computer, which now I get +2 to hit you this turn. And again, it comes down to anticipation. If you pick the targeting computer holdout on a turn when you actually have nobody in line of sight, it's a waste. So the game is really built around anticipating what's going to happen.
And thinking what your opponent's going to do so you can make it so that he can't.
Exactly.
And then we got some other bits here. We got a custom dice. What's this for?
Yeah, so that's our deviation dice. We do have artillery barrage type weapons that come down, rockets, missiles, things like that. So you do need to roll for accuracy on those things. And
the Omni template?
Yeah, this is the movement template, and basically it allows any movement in the game to happen, and it also allows any type of weapon effect, like the AoE weapons, to be used. So, for example, if you've got a flamethrower on the side of your vehicle, you just put it there and you can see who's going to fall within that.
Right.
No problem. The other thing that you can do when you're maneuvering is you just align it up to the arrow there. If you were going to do a straight maneuver and you were going at speed 4, then you would just put it up to there.
Right. And this is all inches, so if you did want to just use a tape measure.
Absolutely. So you can use it too. It's just a handy reference aid.
Cool. So. And then, of course, for like more complicated turns, you would start here, you would end there, you would end there,
you got it.
However you want to do.
Yeah, it shows you your start and finish.
And you can see they're all numbered 1 through 6. So I'm assuming this is your maneuver number that you would have on your dice.
That's the speed you're going. So if you're going to make a right turn at speed 1, it looks like this.
Right.
If you're going to make
the higher the speed is, the smaller the turn is.
Exactly, because you're going faster. Speed kills. I notice in a lot of demos, like people will come into the corners of the highway, and they're still going speed 6, and they don't even think until they hit the wall, like, oh yeah, I should have slowed down.
Yeah, driving a car, you don't want to be going that fast.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It often comes as a surprise to folks when they're playing.
Cool. So these are your basic demo components, and this is sort of what like the prototypes look like. We'd be thinking this would be like in hard acrylic or something like that if you do like a final version. Or gotcha. Yep. So that's neat. Well, there we go, guys. So there's a look at the initial sort of lineup and the original sort of crafting of a miniature game. So I really applaud this because it shows a do-it-yourself spirit. Like literally Miles made all of this initial component stuff himself and took it around showing people at conventions and all kinds of places. So this is what you can do if you want to be in the wargaming market, is you can just start building stuff. So there you have it, Roadkill, the components. You guys can look forward to the Kickstarter. The link to it will be in the description of this video below me. You guys can check out what you have sort of available to you as options if you decide that you want to check out some cool future post-apocalyptic space car racing. Thanks so much, Miles, for coming in and showing me the game.
No problem. Thanks, Ash.
So now next week, you guys are actually going to get to see the gameplay video. Miles is going to give me a demo game right now of a mission called Death Race. And Death Race is going to pit 2 cars against each other, run up to Steelback. I'm going to learn the rules. You guys are gonna have to learn along with me, and hopefully that interests you guys and you guys enjoy this show, because I'm super excited about it. I love tinkering with like miniatures and making my own stuff. Hopefully you get to see me paint a car too on my Facebook page, so you can check that as well. And we'll be back with more Roadkill. There'll be a 3-game series probably after this video, where you'll check out just sort of the ins and outs of the games, and maybe I'll even get to play with a car that I build myself. So we'll see you for more Widgets and Wonders. Thanks again for coming on. Until next time, happy wargaming.